Today is Tuesday, January 18th, 2022, and I call this meeting to order at 5:33. We begin with roll call. Ms. Janie Lopez, Mr. Oscar Medrano, Mr. Rudy Corona,
Present.
Dr. Ariel Cruz,
Present.
Mr. Orlando Lopez,
Present.
Mr. Mario Silva,
Present.
Dr. Nate Carmen,
Present.
Mr. Stephen Weller. Can you hear us, sir? Mr. Weller? Mr. Weller, can you hear us? How about now, Mr. Weller? Can you hear us?
Yes, sir, I can. I can hear you now.
All right, thank you. And I'm here.
Can you
We
hear
do have a
me?
quorum. Moving on to
Okay.
agenda item 1.2 and 1.3, we have the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States and the Texas flags and our invocation. So before we get started with that, let me read a little bit of the bios for our students that will be presenting the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. We have Evan Martinez with the Pledge of Allegiance. Evan Martinez is the son of Santiago and Mara Martinez. He is a sophomore at San Benito High School. His favorite subject is science, and he is a member of the San Benito High School varsity choir. For fun, Evan likes creating and editing audio-visual projects, especially after having earned an Adobe Premiere Pro certification through his Career and Technology Education Advanced AV production class. Evan is successfully working on his practicum while employed as a KSBG TV co-op student. Currently, Evan serves as president of the Skills USA District 13. He plans on continuing his education after high school and pursue a career in the media field. Evan, welcome. Then we also have Kimberly Richelle Reyes with the invocation. Kimberly Richelle Reyes is an 8th grade student at Berta Cavazza Middle School. She is the daughter of Pablo Jr. and Ruth Reyes. She plays the alto saxophone and is a proud member of the Grey Pup Band. During this academic year, Kimberly has earned honor roll recognition and is a member of the Berta Cavazza Battle of the Books team. She enjoys drawing, cooking, playing music, and spending time with family. Kimberly enjoys helping people in need and practicing her Christian faith. She plans to become a teacher and continue making a difference in the lives of children. Both of you welcome, and if you come up to the mic, we'll start off with the pledge. And everybody please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee. Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we pray that you bless and protect our school board members, administrators, students, staff, and every family of our district. May your face shine upon us and show your great mercy. Let your favor and peace surround us. Bring healing to our bodies, courage to continue, and lasting good health. May your angels surround every school facility. Let your powerful blood cover us from the top of our heads to the soles of our feet. Holy Spirit, guide every decision made for the well-being of our great district. In the name of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Evan and Kimberly, thank you both for being here today. We do have certificates as a token of our appreciation. We will be giving it to a KSBG, and you'll get them at a later time this week. Okay, but we do appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, if we can give these two students a round of applause. And if their parents are here, are their parents here? There you go. Thank you also, ma'am, for having your children here. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. You may be seated. Okay. Next item on the agenda is item 1.4, public comment. We do have two individuals here with public comment. The first is Mr. Manuel Gomez. Mr. Gomez, pásele al micrófono. Antes de empezar, I forgot. Let me go ahead and remind people of the public comment. I will remind our audience members of the board's procedures for handling public comment. The public comment portion of our meeting is available to members of the public who wish to address any topic. Anyone who would like to speak during public comment must sign in prior to the start of the meeting and list the topics they want to discuss. Each public comment speaker will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to address the board for each topic. If more than 10 speakers are signed up to speak on the same topic or topics, all additional speakers on that item shall be limited to 2 minutes. However, any public testimony speaker who requires a translator will receive up to 6 minutes to address the board. Please keep your comments or criticisms civil and courteous. Please avoid using profanity and refrain from making personal attacks on others during your opportunity to speak. Lastly, we ask that you do not discuss students who are not your own children. If a speaker is seeking board resolution of a specific complaint, that concern should be addressed through the district's grievance process. District policy DGBA has been established for addressing employee complaints. Policy F&G is the avenue for filing parent complaints, and policy GF addresses community member complaints. Grievance forms can be obtained at any campus administration office or at the district central administration offices. Mr. Gómez, señor Gómez, con todo respeto, nada más le voy a dar un resumen de lo que acabo de leer en inglés. Básicamente tiene 3 minutos para decir sus palabras que necesita a la mesa directiva. Y otra vez le digo que por favor no mencione nombres, sino las posiciones, pero está el derecho suyo para poder hablar. Tiene 3 minutos. Empiece.
Sí, bueno, permíteme presentarme, soy Manuel Gómez. La razón que estoy aquí es porque creo que hicieron una decisión equivocada con despedir a una persona que manejaba un bus. Él me dice que iba siguiendo un tractor y que ese tractor iba aventando piedras y lodo y pensó que representaba una amenaza para él y para su bus y para los estudiantes. Le sacó la vuelta y continuó. Esa fue la razón que fue despedido. Yo trabajé 24 años con los buses. Y cuando uno maneja un bus, uno es el responsable por sus estudiantes. Quisieras tener a quien preguntar qué hago, pero tú tienes que hacer tus propias decisiones. Yo he sacado los buses, hemos ido a los viajes, y una vez saqué los buses para el front, para abajo, los saqué porque hubo un accidente. Eso es ilegal, le dije a un oficial, dijo es ilegal, pero lo hiciste por una razón muy razonable. Y yo pienso que la decisión que hicieron de despedir a esa persona porque le sacó la vuelta al bus, creo que para mí, me da tristeza que no dejen trabajar a la gente a un chofer cómo defender a sus estudiantes. Esto es lo que tengo que decir.
Ok, Mr. Gómez, muchísimas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Por sus
Muchas
palabras.
gracias.
Okay, our next public comment participant is Ms. Rosalinda G. Garcia. Ms. Garcia, welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
I wasn't going to mention this, but again, I see the lack of leadership where this meeting was moved. We all knew a board meeting was coming up, and not everybody knew that it was going to be over here, that it was changed. As I have in the past, I want to thank each board member for your time. It takes a lot of time from your family, but it's something that you ran for as a board member, but you never know how time-consuming it's going to be. Thank you for all the research that you do before you vote. And like I said, I know it takes away a lot from your time, last-minute luncheons that you might have with a board member or a vendor. So once again, on behalf, I thank you for your time to San Benito CISD as a Board of Trustees that you should be very proud of. Thank you.
Ms. Garcia, thank you for your kind words. All righty, that concludes our public comment for today. Moving on to
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Moreno. Due to our current situation with the COVID virus, normally we'd have students here presenting, teachers, board
mics
members.
aren't working. Now it is.
I think it's working
There you
now. Okay, thank you. Due to the situation with COVID, we normally would have students here to present to each of the board members. However, we have foregone that because of the situation we're in hopes of keeping everybody as safe as we can. At your tables, board members, you do have your certificates, and there are baskets for you at the front of the stage. We'll give it to you this evening, take home with you. But I also want to read the proclamation from our governor. In Texas, we place immense value in our youth. We protect them, guide them, and prepare them for a successful future because we know they are the next generation of leaders for our state and nation. We also understand the key role education plays in young people's lives. School districts across Texas have continued to dedicate time and resources to ensure Texas students receive a rigorous and well-rounded education that will serve as the foundation upon which their dreams will be turned into reality. School boards are an integral fabric woven into the tapestry of the Texas education system. They work with parents, education professionals, and community members to create successful learning environments for our students. Our school boards continue to be instrumental as they tackle new challenges for Texas public schools and serve the ever-evolving needs of our students. Texans know they can count on their school board members, along with other dedicated school administration officials, to create opportunities to discuss important issues, develop innovative solutions, and empower educators while remaining focused on their students' futures. At this time, I encourage all Texans to recognize and honor the work and successes of our school board members who play an important role in the education of students across the state. By continuing to support our children's education, we will ensure a better and brighter future for the Lone Star State. Therefore, I, Greg Abbott, Governor of Texas, do hereby proclaim January 2022 to be School Board Recognition Month. Signed on the 8th day of November 2021 by our Governor, Greg Abbott. School board members, thank you for your service.
Thank you, Dr. Carmen. Okay, we break for recognition, so do we need a motion to adjourn for now and then reconvene? Dr. Carmen, would that be the process?
I think you would just need a motion, yes, to break for the
reception?
and a time possibly to come back.
Okay, do I have a motion to take a break for the board reception?
So move.
Okay, moved by Orlando Lopez. Do I have a second? Second by Mario Silva. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 5-0. Okay, let's get started with our board reception. Okay, once again, thank you everyone for being here today. Thank you for your recognition to the board. It is 6:03, and I'm going to go ahead and resume the meeting. At this time, we're testing. I don't need it. Testing. There we go. We move on to item 4.1, cash account report. Dr. Carmen?
Yes, sir. I'm going to ask Mrs. Pettis if she'll do a presentation, please.
Good evening, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Carmen. So this evening we have our cash and investment reports, our regular expenses and revenue report, as well as our quarterly reports. So we'll start with our cash and investment, our bank balances. Under cash accounts, we have $5,389,045.97. Under investments, First Public Investment Account and Texas Class Investment Account, as well as Ameritrade, we have $80,450,796.32 for a total of $85,839,842.29. On the next slide, we have the revenue side of the comparison of revenues to budget. So for general fund, and the year-to-date realized, that's what we have received as of December 31st, 2021. We have received $49,778,053.98. And under debt service, we have received $5,946,647.69 for a total of $55,724,728.67. That's 44.40%. And under capital projects, our ongoing interest earned to date is $901,479.19. So on our next slide, we said we had 44.4% of our revenues received. And I just want to quickly compare that to the total of expenses. That's 33.13% of our expenses. So we have more revenues at this time compared to our expenses. But again, and I'm going to always remind y'all, February, we do not receive a TEA payment, and August. So it will equalize itself during the next month or two. So under the revenues expenditures year-to-date expenditures under local funds is $40,038,047.49. Under interest and sinking, we have $2,004,630.14 for a total of $42,042,677.63. And that will go up in February. February, we do have our debt payments. So you'll see a much higher amount under the 598 and 599s. And under capital projects, we have spent $15,310,594.07. In our tax collections, we have received a total of $11,646,642.79. Of that, $178,111 is delinquent taxes. So our tax levy is $16.5 million for a total percent collected of 72.68. And last year we had 67.92. So they've been doing really well with collecting. This month we will have a much higher collection rate. On the next slide, we have the quarterly investment report. Under the First Community Bank section, we have earned in this quarter $2,012.09. Under Ameritrade, it is going to show negative $2,548.78. I don't want y'all to be alarmed about that. This is an accrued interest. These are calculations that we do as of today or as of the end of December 31st. That does not mean that that's what was earned. That is an accrued amount. So those CDs, those investments have not matured as of yet. So we do have a low-risk investment portfolio, so we should not be losing money. This is just as of right now. I just don't want y'all to freak out with the negative number. First Public, we earned $8,012.20. And under Texas Class, we earned $565.98 for a total of $8,041.49, compared to last year's $124,865.25. There is a very big difference in what interest rates are doing right now with CDs. We are looking at different investments, different kind of CDs, and checking to see which ones have a higher yield so that we can make sure that our money isn't just stagnant in one area. So we are looking at diversifying our portfolio. As of right now, the First Public area is where it is the most, the bigger yield on that.
That's like a difference of $112,000. That's a huge difference.
And quite honestly, compared to the prior year, it's an even bigger difference. I think the prior year, and before that, we would gain anywhere from $400,000 to $600,000 in a quarter. So that is a major decline in what interest rates are doing right now.
Wow.
And that is a nationwide thing, though. That's not
Okay.
a San Benito specific. On our next slide, we have our campus and student activity accounts. This is also a quarterly report, and this is as of December 2021. Our total campus and activity accounts stands at $546,766.24. And on the back of that, you do have the individual accounts for each campus, in case anybody has any questions. On our next slide, this is the federal fund comparison report, and we're taking these numbers off of TEA. This is what we have. We don't usually have this many open. Usually it's from one year we have this money, and then the next year we have this money, and that's it. The grants that were in 2019, 2020, they did extend out an additional year and then yet another year. So the 3 grants that are in the 19-20 year are still open. The ESSER grant, I can tell you that that one does have a balance as of today of 0. So that one is what we use to pay for our incentive and the amounts that we paid in December. So the total amount of expenses, well, I'll go for the balances. In 19-20 is $1,311,654.08. In 2021, $41,559,168.09. That sounded awkward. On this one, the third line, ESSER 3282. The last time you got the report, it was at $30 million. We just got our ESSER 3 Part B, and that was an additional $15 million. So that is going to be all of the amount that we have for ESSER 3. And then the highlighted numbers, those are federal funds that were closed out and have carryover amounts. So those will go into the 21-22 amounts when you see it the next time around.
Ms. Perez, that ESSER 3 monies, the $39,568,000, those are the monies that are going to be available for the next couple of years through 24, I believe. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So they will close off in 2023. They will have a carryover 1-year period, just like the 19 and 20s. Those will carry over for 1 additional year up until the summer of 2024. So that's part of our spending plan that was presented to the board. That's part of our budget planning with how we're going to be moving forward up until at least summer 2024.
Ms. Bettis, on the grant year 2019-2020, those funds that are left, is there an expiration date on them?
On the 1920s, that expiration date at this point is September 2022, or maybe June. But we do have a plan. We met with the federal programs director, and we do have a plan on making sure that those funds are spent. The top line, that one is already, like I said, that one's depleted.
Okay.
But the bottom 2, the accounting director, myself, and the federal programs director, they did talk today about how they were going to ensure that those funds were spent. We do not like leaving money on the table. We will come up with meetings and plans. As a matter of fact, we just had a plan with Dr. Carmen today about how to reallocate the carryover funds, because we have those carryover funds along with the total grant award. I mean, it's a lot of money to spend, and it's an interesting problem to have to find places to spend money, but we also have to meet our state compliance and make sure that we're spending over here, so.
And they have to go towards specific things.
They are
since they are
very
grant money.
specific about where they need to go, be spent, the compliance for it, what we can and can't do, the time frame in which we can spend it in. It's pretty stringent. It's interesting.
Well, it's good to know that y'all are on top of it.
I'm sorry, what was that?
It's good to know that y'all are on top of it.
We are. The 21-22 grant year, the balance on that one is $9,064,975.05. Our total grants balance is $51,935,797.22. And just keep in mind that $40 million of that does go into 2024. So it's not like we have to spend all of that right now. On the next slide, our check registers. Under general fund, we have $2,646,131.20. Student activity, $36,928.50. Construction projects, $753,558.18. No scholarship checks. Payroll, $8,781,510.89. Payroll liability, $824,249.44 for a total of $13,042,378.21. And if anybody has any questions about any of the checks, I will be more than happy to answer that, or at least try to if I have that information.
I have a couple of comments, not really questions, but one of the comments that I've got is on, I'm going to make reference to check number 772151. And once again, this is to American Express, and again, this is just a comment. When we look at the description, I am going to assume that it is comprised of several different items or whatever, but when we put on this check register that it's for office supplies, and I look at the dollar amount of $352,002.07, that's pretty steep. So, you know, and again, perception, I always look at perception. You know, that's a lot of office supplies. So my question now to you, is there any way that, I mean, and again, it's not micromanaging, it's transparency, wanting to know not necessarily where every penny is spent, but again, that's a huge amount to be put on there as office supplies.
So one of the things that I can do, the reports are canned reports from Skyward. I don't want to alter that. What I can do is, I mean, I can kind of tell which questions might come up based on the amount, based on the vendor. If it doesn't say board approved, I'm pretty sure it's going to be questioned. So what I can do in the future is provide details of those bigger items along with the check register. That way, in case, if there's something that is not already on that list and I haven't provided it for you, you can call me and we can get that for you ahead of time. But like, I have the information because even I would question that one.
I'm sure it's detailed. That's a huge amount, right?
Yes.
But, okay. And then I do have one more question, and then we can move on. I have a question on a question and a comment, but first and foremost, I'll turn the question to you. Check number 772534. The payment is to Monica Mata for a total of $1,530. Can you tell me what that was for? Because I do know that she's a former employee of ours.
Yes.
That worked in the business department. So what was that all about?
She helped close out a lot of our books. She still was participating in helping with the ladies, helping with the auditors. She still had a lot of information that she was able to offer, and so we did contract her. I was at a point where I had me, and that was it. So we did ask for her help.
And I think that's why I had the question. And again, I don't want to sound derogatory, but I just, again, it's my opinion, and I'll be more than happy to meet with you. But when I see that, number one, she's a former employee. Number two, she worked in the business office. We do know, I do, at least, I'm not going to speak for we, I'm going to speak for I do know, I can imagine what you go through. San Benito is a huge district, you know, but one of the things in my mind is that one of the things that was brought up a couple of years ago when we had the external audit was the lack of having our reconciliations done, completed. And then this year we went through CAR Rigs through the fiscal year, end of the year audit, and we come up with the same thing, that we have reconciliations that are not completed. So then in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, we have Ms. Bettis, who's the head, we have the executive director, and then we've got other personnel in there in your department, but yet we go outside and contract with a consultant service. So I don't understand, help me understand why we don't have enough personnel to get those reconciliations done without having to go and contract. Although it's you know, for our budget, it's minimal, but still, I think that the job should be done by our existing staff.
As far as the reconciliations go, I can tell you that when they told us that we can use the ESSER 2 funds, it was in May or June. It was June. And we talked about reclassifying a lot of our employees over to that so that we can spend that money.
Okay.
So when that happens, we reclassified from September and on until June 30th. At that point, we had to reclassify all of their TRS as well because it's federal funds, so it does have a different federal reporting. And then on top of that, we have to do TRS reporting for payments and then we have to make sure that it's coming out of the right account. So at the end of June, we had our reconciliations up to May, and then that happened, and reporting for, if I'm not mistaken, about 500 employees and changing their TRS records 12 times for each employee, that did set us back.
Time consuming.
That is where the reconciliations stopped, because we had to clean up all of that other after that. So the reconciliations part, it can be done. That year it was interesting because we just reconciled and then we reclassified $20 million of money from one grant to another. So it isn't a major issue. It was the timing of reclassifying. It was the timing of TRS saying that they want a certain way of doing things. It wasn't just one bulk thing. It was, we have this great opportunity to reclassify $20 million, but then we have to go through this part. So
Okay.
There's always going to be, with all of this money, there is always going to be some kind of, oh, by the way, don't forget to do this. And we just heard another one last week. So
Okay.
it's just, there's always something that we're going to be held back by with our federal funds, especially the ESSER.
Okay. Thank you for your explanation, and I do want to be the first to say thank you for all you do. We know your department is a very busy one, and there's a lot to do, so I wasn't trying to, again, micromanage, but
that's fine.
I did want to bring that up, and I'm hoping that you've got enough staff to get that department up to speed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, anyone? All right. Thank you for your report, Ms. Perez. All right, we move on to consent agenda items, business and finance. Item 5.1, request approval to accept gifts bequests for 21-22 school year. Questions? Consent. Item 5.2, request approval of budget amendments for 21-22 school year. Questions? Consent. Item 5.3, request approval of membership for One Government Procurement Alliance, One GPA Purchasing Cooperative. Questions? Consent. Item 5.4, request approval of proposals on meals and catering services district-wide. Questions? Consent. Item 5.5, request approval of the proposals on professional consultant services district-wide. Questions? Consent. Item 5.6, request approval of proposals for general merchandise and services. Questions? Consent. Item 5.7, request approval to renew the proposal on property casualty windstorm insurance coverage for one additional year, RFP 1220 PCWIC. Questions?
Question.
Item 5.8, request approval regarding the storefront vestibule proposal pricing for the San Benito CISD. Questions? I have a question. Okay, moving on to consent agenda items under administration. Item 6.1, request approval of the affiliation agreement between San Benito CISD and the University of Texas at Rio Grande Valley Counseling Program. Questions? Consent. Item 6.2, request approval of the Master Clinical Affiliation Agreement between San Benito CISD and Lamar University. Questions? Consent. Item 6.3, request approval of agreement between San Benito CISD and TAMUC Federal Work Study for student teachers. Questions? Consent. Item 6.4, request approval of revisions to the 2021-2022 school calendar. Questions? Consent. And item 6.5, request approval of board minutes. Questions? Consent. All right, with that completed, I ask for a motion to approve consent agenda items 5.1 through 5.6 and items 6.1 through 6.5. Do I have a motion? So moved. Okay, I have a motion by Orlando Lopez and a second by Mario Silva. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. All right, going back to item 5.7, request approval to renew the proposal on property casualty windstorm insurance coverage for one additional year, RFP 1220 PCWIC. I turn it over to Dr. Cruz.
I just had a question on the start dates for these coverages.
Yes, ma'am. The start date is February 1st, 2022 through January 31st, 2023.
And that's our normal
Yes,
renewal period?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's just what I wanted to know. Thank you.
thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve item 5.7? I can't hear you guys. Okay, I have a motion by Rudy Corona. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a second by Ariel Cruz. You guys are behind me, so it's even harder now. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, motion carries 5-0. All right, the next item is 5.8, request approval regarding the storefront vestibule proposal pricing for the San Benito CISD. That's my question and some comments that I have. I understand, well, you all understand, those of you that were present at the committee meetings. I was not there physically, but I did attend the meeting via remotely. I was watching the whole meeting, and I know there's questions that arose from these vestibules. I'm not going to mention names as to who arose questions, but some of the questions that were brought up were, are other school districts, what other school districts have these? And the other thing that I noted was, to me, again, my personal opinion, there seemed to be a rush. So not only would I like to know what other school districts are involved or what other school districts have these, my understanding also in the discussion that was had during the committee meetings was that this was done through a purchasing cooperative and not going out for bids. And so, again, what other school districts have this in place? And to me, what's the rush? I don't know, that's my comment. I think that the board and the district has moved very diligently in providing security, and we continue to try to make sure that that our students are safe at all times. But in my opinion, I think that I would like to recommend that we table this and that we get more information and perhaps even go out to bids rather than going just with this purchasing cooperative. But can you elaborate on anything, Ms. Perez, please?
So this was not, in my opinion, a rushed one. We have actually been working on this since August. So we've been working on getting pricing, making sure that we were looking at all the different purchasing co-ops. As far as getting bids, our board policy says that if we are purchasing anything over $50,000, we do have to either go out for bids, purchase through an interlocal agreement, or purchase through somebody who's in a co-op. So this vendor is in one of our co-ops. So as far as what other school districts have, I'm not aware of any other school districts. I know in Willacy County there's one that have vestibules in each of their campuses. This is being done as a safety measure through Covet, through ESSER funds. So we are going to install vestibules at each campus, install a thermal camera there so that we can justify that we are doing that for COVID reasons, which is legitimate. As far as why we're in a rush, there is no rush. We do have $15 million that we need to have spent by the end of June, so this would cut out some of that money in there. But if it's the board's decision to table it for now and get some research, that's completely up to y'all. I do have Mr. Perez. Would you like to add anything, sir?
While he's walking up, we already have 3 campuses that have this, right? So this is kind of just making everybody up to the standard.
Mr. Perez, I know high school does.
Sullivan,
And, go ahead, sir.
I mentioned it last time.
Thank you, Mr. Perez.
Very good questions, and again, they're not rush jobs. I think the challenges we had originally when we talked about this, myself as superintendent, and then myself and Mr. Cavazos, we were talking about who would be the best service for us across to be able to give us the best opportunity for us to do the job. And we discussed a little bit last time when we presented to the board, or I presented to the board rather, where if there was a cost, what would that entail to us? Well, engineers obviously is a cost, so we would have to go out and get some engineers to do the work. This is already built into this cooperative that we went and looked at, which is A1 Facilities. The other is not only the engineering part, but also the building of the internal piece that we want to do within each of the facilities. So if you're talking about time, it could take about 6 to 7 months before we even get anything. I can tell you right now, just doing VMA, our canopy, we've We went out and got an engineer to do the work for that particular canopy or awning. We still haven't gotten a report back. So it takes a while to do each building. These individuals, this company was able to do it within 3 months. So I don't think it was rushed. They did their own work, internal, so we can always go back to the same vendor and say, hey, we need to change something, we can modify it. And the advantage also is we can also engage with pricing if we have to. If we want to, we can go back and say, you know what, the price is too high. This is a good negotiation tool because they are part of a cooperative. All cooperatives can go back, we can go back and negotiate if we need to, but we already did that for the board prior to even coming here. So if you look at some of the listings we had on there, they subtracted already quite a bit of money on a lot of the cost that they had on there. So that's an advantage. 6%, 12% above the price, that's normally what you're gonna get from an engineer. Not only that, but you're also gonna have somebody doing as a project engineer that they will hire to overlook. So we're cost savings, I think it's beneficial to the district. And again, it's up to the board what they would like to do as far as that's concerned. But I still recommend that we continue doing it. Yes, sir.
Mr. Perez, my concern last week was, is A1 the only vendor in the co-op that you checked on?
They're not the only vendors, no, sir. But they're the only vendors that came up and approached us with it.
I see.
And so when he was in the office with Mr. Cavazos, I didn't even know who he was. He was introduced to me, and we started talking if he could do certain things. And he checked all the boxes as far as my conversation was with him.
Yes, sir.
So I said, let's go ahead and get you working on this project for us. And that's how we started, to be honest.
So you mentioned that that they are not the only vendors, but that's a vendor that came forth, but we didn't go out to the other vendors and approach them.
Well, no, sir. He was a target opportunity
Okay.
at that point. Again, I took advantage of the opportunity.
And I applaud you because you're doing work behind the background, behind the scenes that we don't know about. So I applaud that. But one of the comments that Ms. Pettis mentioned as well, and again, guys, I'm just speaking for myself as one board member. This will go up for a vote. But one of the comments that was made earlier by myself is we're taking great strides, and we continue to take great strides to maintain the safety of our students. And I think this district had a huge initiative by increasing our police department. And I think that says a lot for us wanting our students safe at all times. And the other comment that was made by Ms. Pettis was, these are funds ESSER funds that we need to spend. But, perhaps, I encourage my colleagues here, is there something else that we might be able to better spend that money on rather than this? And again, this is my humble opinion. It's something that can go up for a vote.
Yes, sir. If I may,
Yes, sir.
I'll add something else to that. I think this is a great opportunity. And yes, safety is an issue for our district, across every district, I think. But when it comes to COVID, that's a challenge that we've had now. I think by adding an additional layer of safety does not hinder us by no means, at least in my humble opinion. This is just an opportunity for us to provide another, not only security asset for each of the different schools, but as far as COVID is concerned, I think that's an additive for us. And a plus, it's a win-win. And again, I think it benefits our students, our staff. As you guys will know, right now we're not doing too well as a district and as a staff, and especially in my area, because our guys are just like the teachers and everyone else present each day. So I think it's just an additive for us. And again, it's a tool. I think it's something to be gained from it, and an advantage for San Miguel CISD.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any further questions?
Yes, I got a question. I got a question or a comment.
Okay.
It's more of a question, Mr. Pettis. So as far as the campuses that have this already in place, what's their response, or what's their pros and cons for having this system of safety in place?
Well, the pros is very, very easy, is be able to, again, sustain or obtain the person in one location, whether it's a family members coming in, they don't have to go into the facilities, so it prevents the person or persons from coming in. So by having the additional controls that we added to this, I think, again, it prevents from someone coming in into the facility that we don't want because of COVID or otherwise. So that's the pro. The con is the presence, the physical presence of having someone there to greet. But you can still see him through a camera. That's what we'll have in place. in that facility, so they'll be able to buzz them in. So once they finish their testing right there and then, to be able to allow them in, they'll be buzzed in, not buzzed, but buzzed. And so I think that's, again, for me, the least expectation to be with someone in enclosure of the environment we have within 5 feet or 6 feet or 3 feet. I think, again, it's a win-win.
Okay, yeah, so I think one of my concerns is that we've talked about this for a while now. Okay, we've talked about safety and open. Of course, that raises an alarm, especially with everything that's going on and us being a border town. And also COVID is rampant right now. So we've talked about this before. We've talked about you can't put a price tag on somebody's life. You can't, so we want to do everything like Mr. Moreno said. We've been doing this for years now of trying to provide, the safety and all the measures necessary to take care of our staff, all our staff and kids as a whole. So I think this is a great idea. I think we need to move forward with it. Since we've been talking about it. So now it's, I'm a parent. I have a kid coming to this school, so where my kid goes, they don't have it. So, if we're going to be wanting to question the way we process our daily business here, then it's something that I personally feel should be aired out because people are going to question it. So for safety reasons or for COVID reasons, I think we should pursue this opportunity to add another layer of safety. So that's my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez.
I have one question too.
Yes,
This
ma'am.
is
Yes,
all
ma'am.
going to be grant money that we're going to use for this construction?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. It'll be the ESSER funds that we talked about earlier. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have we ever used grant money for a project this big that encompasses all the campuses in the district?
Have we used it in the past?
Grant money.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Grant money?
Have we used grant money in the past for a project this big across the district?
Not that I know of, but I'll let Ms. Perez answer that.
I would think technology might be one area, Mrs. Pettis, but I'm sure there may be others.
Technology, we installed touchless water fountains. We have done the thermal cameras. Those were all done with federal funds. The construction isn't something that's usually grant approved, federal grant approved, but every single thing that we do that is over $5,000, any purchase that's over $5,000 does have to be submitted to TEA and approved. So this has already been pre-approved. And this was part of our spending plan when we first presented it to the board, to the community. And so this is a legitimate purchase. It is a very high ticket item, but considering right now we are going to be using ESSER funds and mitigate COVID as much as possible, the use of it even after COVID in an ideal world is still going to be beneficial to our students as far as safety goes. It's going to get that second layer that's going to stop an unwanted visitor in our campuses. So this will benefit not just right now, but for a long time to come.
So there shouldn't be any surprise fees that we'll have to pay because it's already been TEA approved. We'll go through grant money.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, based on, thank you for mentioning that, Dr. Cruz. Based on what I recall from the committee meeting, we have a dollar amount here, almost $500,000. That's $500,000.
Correct.
But in addition to that, Mr. Perez mentioned that there are some other costs that weren't included or may not be included. So this is not the final, it may or may not be the final cost because we don't know if there's going to be additional costs.
There is additional cost, but it's not part of the construction. It's part of HVAC's making sure that it has the proper, I'm sorry, I cannot even think of the right word. Mr. Cole? I think it has something to do with the alarm system.
Okay.
I'm not going to pretend like I know all of that stuff. That's why I have Mr. Cole.
That's fine. The access controls?
And that is actually on the quotes that are under the $25,000 purchases.
Okay. Got it.
Was there anything else that was going to be needed after that, sir? Okay. So access controls was the last part, because I know that we had talked about the construction of it itself, but also the security part of it and access control and the monitoring of that. Okay. But that is in the 25,000 purchases. Go ahead, sir.
If I may, those access controls, the reason we added that, we wanted to make sure that we had, even though it's separate, that's with the police department, they handle that piece, but we wanted to make sure that it was coordinated and synchronized. So we added that as part of the security, obviously, of the facility itself as they're entering. So that's why it wasn't added. It was not part of the original contract, but it's separate. It is separate, but it's going to be together at the end of the day. So that when we start the work, it'll be done synchronized, obviously, with PD.
Okay. Any further questions, board members? Okay, at this time, do I have a motion to approve item 5.8, request approval regarding the storefront vestibule proposal, pricing for the 7-year CISD?
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion by Orlando Lopez. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mario Silva. Okay, all those in favor, raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I vote no. Motion carries 4-1. Moving on to action agenda items. Discussion, consideration, and possible approval regarding purchases over $25,000. Dr. Carmen.
Yes, sir, and I believe we have 5 that Mrs. Pettis will cover for you.
Hello again. So we have 5 purchases over $25,000. First one is A1 Facilities, which is the ones that we just spoke of. KLC Video Security, that belongs also to this A1 Facilities and Vestibules plan. Backtronics RGV, let me go back. KLC is for $105,440. Backtronics RGV, that is going to be to disinfect all of our campuses, so I strongly urge y'all and beg y'all to please approve that one, because that one is a contracted service. That was $149,898.95. All of those are with ESSER funds. The next one is Protected Ed Well Air. This is for our HVAC department so that we can get some air purifiers, and that's for $375,040, and that is through a health grant that we just got awarded. And that one, we do have a timeline of March that we have to spend. Now, we were just awarded last week, and we have like a short time frame. And then the last one is K-Log. That one, if you could give me a second, is for furniture for La Paloma. That's for $28,842, and that is through the Elon Musk funds. Any questions?
Any questions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve item 7.1?
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion by Ariel Cruz and a second by Mario Silva. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Item 7.2, discussion, consideration, and possible approval of property and contents coverage, named windstorm insurance coverage. Dr. Carmen.
Yes, sir, and I think we have Mrs. Pettis, Mr. Cavazos, and even Mr. Carlisle to discuss this with y'all.
Yes. I had requested that this one be on action agenda item just because we did not, we had 5 options, and we do have Mr. Carlisle here to answer any questions that you may have. So there does need to be a decision made by the board on what kind of coverage y'all would like to see. So, Mr. Carlisle, if you would please join us up here.
Welcome, sir.
Good evening.
Good
How are you all
evening.
this evening? As Ms. Pettis said, we did present 5 different options this year. I did speak at the committee meeting, I believe that was last week, about what the different options were, why we have different options this year. We're seeing a fairly significant rate increase this year, and it's being driven 100% by the global market. We did present something to the committee last week that showed, it was kind of a picture that showed the global losses that we've seen over the last 5 to 7 years. I think we're all pretty much aware of those. The winter storm we had last year in 2020, we had a record number of windstorm activities, 30 named storms in the United States alone. A culmination of all those events from 2017 up until this period, the industry has taken a lot of reinsurance losses. So in turn, just like everything we're seeing right now, the increased cost is passed on to the consumer. And that's where we are here today. So there were 5 different options presented. The different options consist of the amount of insurance that you would purchase. The district insures approximately $400 million of total building and contents values. We currently buy $100 million of named storm coverage on that. So we're buying a limit based on about 25% of what our total exposure is. Theory behind that is we would never have a complete loss of every single building and contents within the district in a hurricane activity. So we are presenting the renewal option that is the $100 million option, and then I've given options for a $75 million, a $50 million, a $35 million and a $25 million option, because I do understand we don't have more dollars to spend on insurance, so we may have to make some changes this year. Are there any questions on any one of those options and how we derived those options?
Any questions? Okay, thank you, sir. Dr. Carmen, what is your recommendation as far as the dollar amount?
Yeah, and I'm actually going to defer this recommendation to Mrs. Pettis. She and her team have looked much more in-depth into the situation than I.
So, in my opinion, the $100,000 limit is $895,000. That's the premium for it. I'm sorry. That's the annual premium, right?
261.
So $895,000 for $100,000. $100 million, excuse me. $50 million is $841,000. So you have a difference of $50,000. I would say anywhere between $50 million and $100 million. But if we're going to go with $50 million for $50,000 more, we are covered by 2 times.
Yeah,
And there's not much of a difference.
What do we have right now, Mr. Pettis?
I'm sorry, sir, what was
What do we
that?
have right now? How much?
We currently have a $100 million
100.
limit. It is a steep price.
It
Very.
is.
I will make it work in our budget. That's my job.
What would you recommend?
If I were going to do it, I would do $100 million
100
for just $50,000 more. Like, it doesn't make sense to not double up on it.
Ms. Pettis, and you said last year we carried the 100 million amount?
Correct,
Okay.
But at a much lower cost.
yes.
But it,
Half.
right, unfortunately.
It almost doubled the price.
Yeah. But it's worth it. I mean, I see your argument there.
Yes.
So we
Okay.
sign up today, is there a discount?
What's that, sir?
So do we
Do we
sign
get a
up today,
discount?
is there a discount?
Mr. Carlisle?
Yeah, put him on the spot.
I mean, she makes a very valid point. It's $50,000 difference for $50 million more in coverage. Will you ever even have probably a $100 million loss? I hope not. I mean, if we have a $100 million loss, we have big problems. But again, the industry standard is to carry 20 to 30% of what your total exposure is. A $100 million loss limit is 25% of your total exposure of $400 million. So you're in line if you stay there. If you drop below that, you're kind of going below what the industry standard is. So I think it's a valid recommendation.
And just in the cost of replacement, replacing a 6A high school like we have, the number of students we have, I mean, that's what, a $40 or $50 million project alone? So if there's any other damage and we have $50 million worth of coverage, then that comes out of our pocket, is that right?
Yes, sir. So it would be limited to whatever you pick. So perfect example. Again, we're talking about named storm. If we were talking about fire insurance, we wouldn't recommend something of this nature because you could have a $40 or $50 million high school burned down, and we exhausted our limits there, right? But in a windstorm event, it's not going to be a total loss of $400 million of building values across the district. We're going to have a little bit of damage at each building possibly, but it's not going to be a total loss.
So at this point, board members, do we agree 100 million would be the dollar amount to go with?
Yes, sir.
I was
Okay.
going to ask real quick, does it
Go ahead.
cover any construction going up at this moment also?
No,
Site-
sir, just
Standing
stuff that
buildings
has-
only?
Yeah, substantial completion. Once it's substantially completed, staff lets us know, and then it's removed from the contractor's insurance and placed on the district's policy.
Okay, so at this point, I would need a motion to approve property and contents coverage for named windstorm insurance coverage in the amount of $100 million in the best interest of the San Benito CISD. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion by Orlando Lopez and a second by Mario Silva. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Sorry, 5-0. I hear better with my left ear, sir. I'm sorry about that. All right, item 7.3, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding resolution on COVID-19 leave days. Dr. Carmen.
Yes, sir. I had a couple of board members reach out, including you, Mr. Moreno, asking to put this onto the agenda. Essentially, what we're looking at is the consideration by the board to extend additional COVID leave days to our employees. And I know if you watch the news, you see what's going on. Like I watched something, documentary maybe on BBC the other day with their discussion about the surge we're in now, future variants that could be coming down the line. We don't know how long this is going to be taking place. It's a hardship on our employees. We have to balance it, because if we have employees out, we have challenges filling the classrooms with enough substitutes. But I think the discussion here is related to whether we want to add in this additional employee benefit and support for them. So, Mr. Moreno, you actually asked for this resolution if you want to take it from here.
I did contact Dr. Carmen in reference to this. We have COVID is still alive and well, and it keeps changing day to day to day, and we're being affected right and left, students, staff, families, community. And so of particular interest to me is our staff in reference to, even if the majority, I'm going to say the majority of our staff members have been vaccinated and boosted, and still they run the risk and are, not only do they run the risk, they're contracting this Omicron anyway. And many of our staff members have already, last year when we had these COVID days available for them to take, they exhausted those days. And so now if they're affected, or if they have a child affected or a parent affected, having to stay home, they have to utilize their personal days. And I think that's a disadvantage to them. They're placing their lives in danger by coming to school every day, because we don't know if they're going to go home positive. And so I felt that it was in their best interest that the board talk about this tonight and make a decision on adding additional time for them to be allotted, so additional time allotted for them to be able to take the time off if and when needed. One of the, I guess one of the things that I really wanted to specify there is that, we encourage all our employees and students to get vaccinated, because the opportunity is there for everyone. And so that would be one of the stipulations that I would recommend, that these continuation of days offered to our staff members be offered to them, to these staff members that have actually taken, been proactive in trying to fight this virus, so that that we can offer them the additional days if they have in fact been vaccinated and boosted. If they have chosen not to, then I think that they're at a disadvantage, and again, we need to focus on those that have taken advantage of protecting themselves. So my recommendation at this point, I don't know what how our budget would be affected if we do a full 10 days, but at a minimum, my recommendation would be to afford our employees a minimum of 5 additional days. Dr. Carmen, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. In the way that Mr. Weller wrote this resolution was to provide an additional 5 days or 40 hours for our full-time employees. Obviously, the vote of the board, you can change that if you choose to. But I certainly think from an HR perspective, 5 days is going to be easier for us to be able to staff in terms of substitutes. I think our employees would still appreciate the effort of the board to go out and provide that for them. And then, of course, with the new CDC guidelines, depending on symptoms, they can return after 5 days with a mask, et cetera. So I think that's certainly reasonable, and I think shows effort on our board in the best interest of our employees.
Yeah, Doug, I got a comment to make. So Mr. Moreno hit on a lot of important topics. But one of the things that my concern is, it being a public school and the way we employ our staff, they're not forced to take the vaccine, and it's an option. They don't have to do it. I understand promoting it and all that other stuff, but I just don't see right now with the acceleration of this whole process, whether you're vaccinated or not. I still think it affects everybody, globally, but right here we're just talking about our staff and we're talking about our kids. But, I just think honestly right now it's just not fair for the staff members that whether they've been vaccinated or not still have to stay home. They expunge all their days, and then their kids that are coming to this, our school district, our school system, get COVID, or their families, and then they got to stay home either, but they don't have any more additional days. So I think we need to tread water lightly as far as, how this whole, this resolution is written out. But I would just hate to leave anybody out or carve anybody out because of their beliefs or what they want to do. But I mean, I respect everybody's opinion, but being a frontline employee myself, I see what it's like. I got the booster, my family has the booster, but you can't force people to get the booster. That's their option. Thanks, Doc.
So certainly, I think that's a consideration that we could take into executive session and confer with the attorney, the vaccinated part and the booster part, if the board would like to do so.
So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and make the motion that we move this topic into executive session. Do I have a second? Second. Okay, we have a motion by myself and a second by Dr. Cruz. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. All righty. Next up is closed session. Closed meeting. In accordance with Texas Government Code Open Meetings Act, the board may move into closed session for the following reasons. Section 551.071, for the purpose of a private consultation with the board's attorney on any or all subjects or matters authorized by law. Section 551.074, for the purpose of considering the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer, or employee, or to hear complaints or charges against a public officer or employee. And Section 551.082, certain school board deliberations. The time is 6:55, and we're in executive session. All right, the time is 8:22, and we reconvene in open session. I believe the first item would be to go back and discuss item 7.3, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding resolution on COVID-19 leave days. So do I need to necessarily turn it over to you, Dr. Carmen, or?
No, sir, I think you can entertain a motion if the board is ready.
Okay, so at this time, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion on this item 7.3. I make a motion to approve the resolution on COVID-19 leave days as presented in executive session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion by Ramiro Moreno and a second by Rudy Corona. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, motion carries 5-0. Okay, moving on to the next item. We have item 9.3, employment, resignation, retirements, and terminations. Dr. Carmen.
Yes, sir, I'd recommend to the board they approve the employment, resignations, retirements, and termination as discussed in executive session.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion by Mario Silva. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Orlando Lopez. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
No, Mario.
Oh, we have,
We're abstaining.
so 3 yeas. This is the one in the resignation and retirements, terminations, and employment. Okay, so all those in favor? 1, 2, 3. You're abstaining. Yes. Okay, so it's, okay, so it's 3 and 2 abstentions. All right, item 9.4, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding, nope, that one's thrown out. And then we have item 9.5, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding proposed settlement pertaining to David Garcia versus San Benito CISD. Dr. Carmen.
Yes, sir, Mr. Moreno, I recommend to the board you entertain a motion to approve the proposed settlement pertaining to David Garcia versus San Benito CISD as discussed in executive session.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mario Silva. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Rudy Corona. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Since there are no further items to discuss, do I have a motion to adjourn? Okay, I have a motion by Dr. Cruz, Ariel Cruz, a second. Second by Mario Silva. All those in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Meeting is adjourned at 8:24.